Should I buy houses or flats? A common question asked by newer investors. Well, in this short video, I'm going to share with you the pros and cons of both. Hi, my name is Mark Lloyd. I'm co-founder of Property Master Academy and been a property investor now since 2005. So let's take a look at flats first of all. Most flats in the UK are what we call leasehold. And what that means is, as a leasehold flat owner, you don't actually own the building. You are renting that building for a long period of time, generally speaking 90 plus years, all the way up to something like 900 odd years could be a lease for your flat. So obviously 900 plus years is going to be very similar to freehold, but there are some rules and regulations that apply around leasehold properties. So that's the first thing, you don't actually own the building. But generally speaking, flats are cheaper. So that's a big tick from an investment viewpoint. Also, rental yields are also generally better. Again, another big tick. Maintenance. With flats, there's very little maintenance because the cost is shared. Because you don't own the building, you don't own the communal areas or the stairs or if there's lifts. So those costs are shared between all the owners of the flats in that block. There's also the potential opportunity with short leases. As a lease starts to decrease in the number of years remaining, once it gets below 70 years remaining, it becomes what's known as a short lease. Why? Well, because below 70 years, it's very difficult to get a mortgage on that property, and therefore it's only available to cash buyers unless you know what you're doing. So potential opportunity there for the investor. Flats are also a very good opportunity for the serviced accommodation strategy, where you can create very good returns over a short period of time. But what are the disadvantages of flats? So one of the main disadvantages of owning a flat is that you can't add value in the same way you would do with a house. You can't, for example, add on an extension, and in a lot of instances you can't change the windows over too. There can also be high service charges, particularly if the building has a lift. Also, there are ground rents. Now, many years ago, ground rents were very, very low, often referred to as a peppercorn. In fact, if you ever see a lease that was a 999-year lease, most of the ground rents then were either a peppercorn or a pound or maybe £10. Nowadays, they are a lot more and can double very quickly, something you need to look at in the terms of the lease if you are buying a flat. Flats can also be harder to finance, particularly high-rise blocks where in fact it's very difficult to get any finance whatsoever. So they're only open to cash buyers. So let's take a look at houses. Well, generally in the UK, most houses are freehold. There are a few exceptions to that where there are some leasehold houses, but they are the exception rather than the rule. As they're freehold, it also makes them much easier to finance. And if you're looking at them as a rental property, tenants tend to favour houses over flats, and they stay longer as well. So the average lifespan of a tenant in a house is much greater than that in a flat. Why? Because it appeals to a wider proportion of the population. It can appeal to single people. It can appeal to families. It can appeal to older people. Of course, there are no service charges with houses, and it's much easier to add value to a house as well. So you can add on an extension, you can go up, sideways, and so on. And houses generally have a much better opportunity for capital growth as well. So what's the downside of owning a house? Well, the first major one will be maintenance. Because you own the freehold now, you're responsible for everything. So whatever goes wrong, doesn't matter what it is, that's your responsibility. And that can be quite costly. A house will also provide lower cash flow than a flat. If a house is empty, there's a possibility it could be vandalised. That's very unlikely to happen where there's a flat because of the way the flats are designed. It's difficult to gain entry into most flats. There's going to be more wear and tear because most houses are occupied by more people than live in flats. And of course, you've also got things like gardens to contend with. So if you're not a gardener, that could well be a problem for you. But really, what it boils down to is where are you going to do this and what is your strategy? So if you are going to buy in an inner city, then clearly there's going to be a lot more flats than there are houses. So you could be pushed down that particular route. If you're outside of the inner cities, there's going to be more houses than there are flats. But the first thing is, write down your plan. What are your goals? What's your strategy? And what are you looking to try and achieve? Those are the first steps before you even decide whether it's going to be houses or flats. Because you never know, one might prove better than the other for you. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified as and when we produce new videos each week. Also, if you are buying a house or a flat at the moment, love to hear from you in the comments below as to how it's going. And if you need any help, please leave a message too. Also, watch the videos that are appearing on your screen right now, as they will help you in your property journey. Thanks for listening.